Welcome to Is This News? Now, this is where we cover a wide range of topics and ask ourselves, is this really news? Now, today we're covering Hurricane Melissa, which is about to hit Jamaica. So I think fairly we can absolutely say this definitely is news. So we're going to cover the details of what's going on with this storm. So stay tuned, check it out, and get the exact details of what's going on.
Beast of a storm. This right here is a live look from Kingston, Jamaica right now. You can see the whitecaps out there on the water. I mean, the winds have been off and on tropical storm force strength, but not sustained yet. Later on this evening and the overnight tonight is when the eastern part of that country starts seeing it, and the western part really gets slammed as the core of the storm basically moves in overnight tonight through tomorrow. So this is a beast of a storm, and it's got us in record books right now. And we were talking about it before. If you were going to get a Category 5 this deep in the season, this is pretty much the perfect recipe to do it, right? The Caribbean, why was it so receptive?
Absolutely.
Now, that view of already the damage is really, really scary. That's why this storm sitting off the coast for like 2 days before it goes in is really the major issue, because you're going to get that storm surge. And even though it's not as big, obviously, from when the storm hits, but it's going to erode at the coast. You already saw that's barely even tropical storm winds and just the edge of the storm with the storm surge. And we already have seen that damage. So that's why this storm is going to be so bad, because a few days of storm surge is going to really weaken the coast. So as that storm moves in, the waves are going to go way deeper inland than they normally would, and the damage is going to definitely be way, way worse. Now, I live in Florida, so we're used to storms, and the thing is they're usually moving a lot faster, and storm surge is always the biggest concern, but it's usually a little bit before you get the storm and then a little bit the day after. They've already had 2 days of this, probably no water, no power, things like that. So, and it's going to slowly move over, and then they're going to go 4 or 5 days of having stormy conditions where you can't bring in supplies and help and things like that, where usually it's just 1 day, maybe 2 at the worst, 3 days of bad conditions. So this is going to make a huge difference, having it sitting off the coast and moving so slow. This is going to be absolutely catastrophic. Now, I just want to stop and look at this image. This storm is massive. It looks like it's moving a little bit more left, but no matter what, I mean, it's bigger than Jamaica. The whole country is going to be impacted. It's going to be tough, and it's been sitting in that spot for like 2 days now, and it's finally moving in, which hopefully it speeds up and gets through quicker. But this is just going to be awful no matter what, because that rainfall is going to be crazy throughout the whole country.
This is a monster, and it might decrease just slightly, but there's not a lot of difference between a Cat 5 and a Cat 4 when a storm's making landfall like this.
What would make it decrease? I mean, it doesn't look like there's a lot of shear. We got a trough moving in, yeah, but what would make this maybe lose some strength right before landfall?
Right before landfall, we could see an eye wall replacement cycle. As storms like this intensify to what we think of as really their theoretical maximum, there is a limit to how intense they can get, and the eye wall begins to break down. Typically, when this occurs, we see some weakening. However, with the distance we're talking and the time we're talking, even if that did occur before landfall or even over landfall and it's over that landscape, it's not going to do enough to decrease the wind intensity and the rainfall and the surge around this island. I mean,
it's necessary.
The wind we're experiencing this morning is already starting to lift some of the metal roofing material we can see on the houses in this area. And as the wind continues to blow, the storm surge and the waves here are expected to push to 9 to 13 feet, especially in the unprotected areas along the coastline in the overnight hours. Jason Allen, CBS News in Kingston, Jamaica.
Wow. Now, the storm is so far off, and they've already had these few days of storm surge. Now, they're saying up to 30 inches of rain in some places. Now, I hope they usually over dramatize these storms living in Florida, which I kind of agree with, because it gets people to take it seriously. But I hope that that's the case, because 30 inches of rain in the mountains of Jamaica is going to cause huge landslides and massive flooding, because all that water is going to funnel into just a few places, and it's going to be crazy. I visited Kingston, Jamaica. I actually stayed at an orphanage with my grandparents for a while, my one and only time being in Jamaica. And a lot of the buildings are brick and concrete, which is great for the wind, but unfortunately a lot of people can't afford that. So the ones that aren't brick and concrete are just made with whatever people can get a hold of, and those sustained winds is going to be really rough. Even tropical storm winds outside of that eye wall are going to be really, really tough for people. We really hope that it speeds up.
Somewhat weaker, but you're still talking about a Category 5, 160-mile-per-hour wind. And then as it moves back into the Caribbean, here is a Category 3, the potential into Cuba is now an impact of what would be a Category 3, which, by the way, Guantanamo is right in the area here where we'll see the storm path as it continues. So as it would be moving through, it will weaken as it runs into the first round of mountains here, which are at about 6,500 feet. But the rainfall could be just as devastating in parts of Cuba as it could be in Jamaica. They're calling for double-digit rainfall. Now, Jamaica has the potential for 15 to as much as 30 inches of rain, where we're looking at what could be anywhere between 10 to as much as 18 inches of rain across portions of eastern Cuba. Here is the...
Wow, this is just gonna be, unfortunately, so devastating for Jamaica. And I landed on their airport in Kingston, and it's already on like an island with a road with the water so close. So I mean, I'm sure that road's already underwater, and why a lot of people you're hearing couldn't leave in time, because it's just been sitting on there and already getting pounded with rain. It's going to definitely make for landslides, and it's going to be really, really devastating and tough for Jamaica. So the only thing we can hope for is that this storm absolutely speeds up. It moves out through quicker, because this could be 5 days of storm, and people are going to go so long without power and water, food, and supplies, because usually a day or two after a storm, we can get supplies and help and get things moving in. They've already been dealing with 2 days of tropical storm-like winds and rain. And then now we're going to finally get the storm on Tuesday, and then they'll still be getting the effects Wednesday, Thursday. So this is going to be 5 days of hurricane, tropical storm like winds. It's going to take so long to get supplies and things in. It's going to be really tough for Jamaica. So just hope this storm speeds up and moves on a lot quicker. So we'll keep track and see what's going on with this storm, and we just hope that everyone impacted stays as safe as possible.